Hey there, young explorers. Are you ready for a wild ride through time? Buckle up, because we're about to zoom back thousands of years to uncover the mystery of Stonehenge. I'm your time-traveling tour guide, Professor Pause, and I'm here to rock your world with some stone-cold facts about one of the coolest, most puzzling places on Earth. Now, picture this. It's about 5,000 years ago. And instead of smartphones and video games, people are hanging out in fields, herding animals, and thinking, you know what would be awesome? A giant circle of massive stones. And thus, the idea of Stonehenge was born. But hold on to your hats, because building this wasn't as easy as stacking Legos. First things first, let's talk about where Stonehenge is. It's smack dab in the middle of Salisbury Plain in England. Imagine a big, grassy field, stretching as far as the eye can see. Now plop a bunch of ginormous stones in a circle right in the middle. Ta-da! You've got Stonehenge. But here's the kicker. Those stones didn't just appear out of thin air. Oh no! Our ancient friends had to go on an epic stone hunting adventure. The biggest stones, called Sarson's Way, as much as for elephants. Can you imagine trying to move something that heavy without trucks or cranes? It's like trying to push your house down the street. These mega rocks came from about 20 miles away. That's like walking to school and back 10 times. And the smaller stones, called blue stones, had an even longer journey. They came all the way from Wales, which is about 140 miles away. That's like walking from New York to Philadelphia twice. Now, you might be wondering, Professor Pause, how on earth did they move these giant rocks? Well, my curious comrades, that's where the real fun begins. Our ancient builders were like prehistoric engineers, coming up with all sorts of clever tricks. For the big sarsen stones, they probably used logs as rollers. Picture this. A bunch of people pushing a giant stone, while others keep putting logs in front of it. It's like a never-ending game of leapfrog, but with logs and a massive rock. For the smaller blue stones, they might have used boats to sail them part of the way. Can you imagine being a fish, minding your own business, when suddenly a giant rock floats by? But getting the stones to Salisbury Plain was just the beginning. Next came the real head-scratcher. How to stand them up. Our ancient friends dug deep holes and then used ropes, poles, and a whole lot of muscle power to lift these stone giants. It's like the world's heaviest game of tug-of-war. And here's a mind-blowing fact for you. The stones on top, called lintels, aren't just placed there. Oh no, that would be too easy. The builders carved special bumps and dips so the stones would fit together like a giant, heavy jigsaw puzzle. It's like they invented Lego, but on a massive scale. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Professor Pause, this is cool and all, but why did they go through all this trouble? Well, my inquisitive investigators, that's the million-dollar question. We're not 100% sure, but we've got some pretty good guesses. Some people think Stonehenge was a giant calendar. Imagine having a clock so big you could see it from miles away. Others believe it was a place for healing, like a prehistoric hospital. And some think it was a place to honor ancestors or celebrate important events. It's like the Swiss Army knife of ancient monuments. It probably had many uses. One thing we do know is that Stonehenge was built in stages over about 1,000 years. That's longer than it takes to grow up, go to college, get a job, and become a grandparent, 10 times over. It wasn't a quick weekend project, that's for sure. The first stage was just a circular ditch with a bank. It's like they were drawing a giant circle in the ground and saying, we're going to build something awesome here. Then, over the centuries, they added wooden posts, rearranged stones, and finally put up the big sarsen stones we see today. But here est the really wild part. The people who started building Stonehenge weren't the same ones who finished it. It's like a giant game of pass-it-on that lasted for generations. Can you imagine starting a project that your great-grandkids would finish? Now, let's talk tools. Our ancient builders didn't have power drills or cement mixers. Nope, they had to make do with what nature gave them. They used antler picks to dig holes, stone hammers to shape the rocks, and a whole lot of patience. It's like trying to build a sandcastle with just your hands. Except the sand is actually giant boulders. And get this, they were so good at what they did that some of the stones fit together so tightly you'll uneven slip a piece of paper between them. That's some serious prehistoric precision. It's like they were playing the world's biggest game of Jenga, but instead of pulling pieces out, they were putting them in perfectly. But wait, there's more. Stonehenge isn't just about the stones. The area around it is full of other cool stuff too. There are burial mounds, other circles, and even a pathway called the Avenue that leads right up to Stonehenge. It's like the ancient equivalent of a theme park, but instead of roller coasters, you've got giant stones and mysterious rituals. Speaking of mysterious, one of the coolest things about Stonehenge is how it lines up with the sun. On the summer solstice, the sun rises right over one of the stones, called the heel stone. And on the winter solstice, the sun sets between two of the big sarsen stones. It's like the ancient builders created a giant sundial. Now, you might be wondering, Professor Paws, how do we know all this stuff about something built so long ago? Well, my history-loving heroes. That's where archaeology comes in. Archaeologists are like detectives, but instead of solving crimes, they solve historical mysteries. They've dug around Stonehenge, studied the rocks, and even used cool technology like ground-penetrating radar to see what's hidden underground. It's like they're giving the earth an echo. Thanks to their hard work, we know more about Stonehenge now than ever before. But even with all this knowledge, Stonehenge still keeps some secrets. We may never know exactly why it was built or how they moved those massive stones with such precision. And you know what? That's part of what makes it so awesome. It's like the world's biggest, oldest magic trick. So, the next time you're struggling with a tough homework assignment or a tricky project, just remember Stonehenge. If our ancient ancestors could move massive rocks for miles and build a monument that's still standing 5,000 years later, you can definitely handle whatever challenge comes your way. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the archaeologist who uncovers the final secrets of Stonehenge. Or maybe you'll be inspired to build your own amazing creation that will puzzle people thousands of years from now. Well, my time-traveling companions, that's all for our Stonehenge adventure today. I hope you've enjoyed this journey back in time as much as I have. Remember, history isn't just about memorizing dates and names. It's about imagining yourself in a different time, solving puzzles, and marveling at the incredible things humans can achieve when they put their minds to it. So, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep being amazed by the wonders of the past. Who knows what other incredible discoveries are waiting to be made? Until next time, this is Professor Pebble, signing off. Stay curious, stay excited, and remember, the past rocks.